Spanning the globe to bring you the constant variety of art. It's the Tenet Podcast. I'm Todd Pearson, coming to you from the 40 West Arts District in Lakewood, Colorado. And joining me from his studio in Rapid City, you know him as quite possibly the most interesting man in the world. It's South Dakota's favorite son, my co-host and friend, Wes Brown.
Hey, Todd, it's another week. Oh, my God. I am so excited for tonight.
I'm over the moon.
Let's do it.
Over the moon. All right, we're going to get right into it today because we have a very limited time with our next guest. It's very nice that she was able to carve out some time in her busy schedule for us. It's an absolute honor to talk with her. She is a photographer, author, and jewelry designer. She has an exhibition of her candid photographs of John Lennon that takes place September 22nd through the 24th at Bitfactory Gallery here in Denver, Colorado, entitled The Lost Weekend, The Photography of May Pang, that coincides with the upcoming digital release of the feature film documentary on Lennon and Pang, The Lost Weekend, A Love Story. You can learn more about May at her website, maypang.com, and you can follow May on Instagram at @themaypang_official. May, how are you?
I'm fine. Welcome. All right. I'm welcome to I feel like I'm already in Colorado. I'll be there soon.
Oh, we're excited for you to be in Colorado. This is an amazing opportunity for Denver. So yeah, we're all looking forward to it.
I want to start off by talking about this exhibition that you have coming up towards the end of September here. The Lost Weekend. For people that don't know what the Lost Weekend is, can you kind of give us some context and some history behind this?
Yeah, that title keeps coming back, and so decided to embrace it. John used it during sort of the time that we were together. So everybody thinks that it was our lost weekend. We weren't lost. In fact, John and I did so much work that during that time period that people are floored by it, and they keep saying, well, why was it a lost weekend? People kept asking him. They know that he was drunk and got into a couple of little incidences that landed in on front pages of newspapers. And they were only like maybe 2 or 3, and that was it. But somehow the press keeps regurgitating that same thing over and over. So it sounds like during our whole time together that it was a lost weekend, because he likes to use metaphors, John. So when they would ask him, what was it like when you were drunk and you were with Harry? And he would just say, it was a lost weekend, the long lost weekend, referring to the original movie back in the day, The Lost Weekend. And all of a sudden, was it Ray Milland? That was, back then.
Yeah.
So I decided because when I tell people that I was with John, they go, when? I don't know what period this is. So then I finally said, how about The Lost Weekend? They go, oh, I know that period. So that's why I use it.
Yeah, a lot of people have heard that, The Lost Weekend, that title. And to be honest with you, it lives in infamy, I guess, as far as that period, right, of his life and the time that you shared with him. And I knew of you, but not the whole story. So how did you end up being John Lennon's girlfriend?
That is, it's one of those stories that when you finally tell it, people go, what? I had been working for Apple Records in New York and Alan Klein's office as well, so not only was I working for Apple, but, I was working in music. I started out as a gopher, meaning they didn't figure out what position yet they wanted me to be at. And I finally landed my favorite spot, music publishing, because I love the songs. Not only was Alan Klein managing Apple, Apple Corps Limited, and the 3 of the members, Ringo, George, and John, but he also managed at the time also the Rolling Stones. So tell me I didn't have a great training ground, right, for all of this. John and Yoko came into the office and decided to do 2 movies. And there were shorts that Yoko had in mind. One was called Up Your Legs Forever. and the other one was called Fly. I ended up being asked to work with them on these projects. So in the end, I guess I made an impression that they wanted me to work with them more permanently. So I've been with them for about 3 years. And one day, Yoko comes into my office, and there was tension around this time period between the two of them, John and Yoko. And, here she is in my office going, I got to talk to you. And she proposed the idea before my first cup of coffee, and I always make a joke, but I needed that coffee after this, was to ask me, he's going to go start seeing other people. And I'm thinking, oh my God, what's going on now? We all knew that there was something wrong, but now to be told that he's going to start seeing other people just sort of threw us all for a loop. But it was only me in the office at the time. And she only wanted to talk to me. So next thing I hear, oh, listen, you don't have a boyfriend. And I just went, don't look at me. I'm not interested. So this is, oh, I know, but I think you'll be good for him. I said, I'm not good for anyone, please. So this is how it started. I balked at this idea, and she's going, I think it's a good idea. And she walks out of my office. So that's how it started. And I think when people see the movie, I talk about all of this. This is something that my documentary will explain more.
That's an amazing story. I mean, I can't imagine. Like you theoretically pick the girlfriend of who your boyfriend who's going to be ex-boyfriend or whatever. How does that? I mean, I can't even.
And
wrap my head
let me
around
tell you, it was not on my mind. It was not, and even though there's more to it, it's not as simple. You make it as simple to tell people, but it wasn't like that, and it wasn't because I went with John because she wanted me to, and in the end, it was because John came and chased after me. But even he balked. We were all over the place. We're like, what's going on?
And at the time, they weren't getting along, but they were separated. Is that the deal?
No, they hadn't separated yet, but it was just quite awkward in the house. You could tell the tension. Everybody's like working, and everybody's working like not knowing what they were going to expect next. So it's like, I'll give you an example. He comes in to talk to me, to ask me for something, to do something. And I said, okay, fine. Write down the notes, take care of whatever I need to take care of. And literally, as he walks out of my office, she walks in. And the thing she asked me is, do you know where John is? And I literally did a double take and looked at her. I said, did you not see him? How could you not see him? That's how quick it was in passing that they missed each other.
So before the Lost Weekend, which is actually 18 months long, but before the Lost Weekend.
Yes, that's another thing.
Right, exactly. What was it like for you because you were like 20 years old, 21 when you first started working with them?
When I when I worked for them, when I did those movies, I was just turned 20. So,
because here's a guy that's already established, because this is the early 70s, late 60s, right?
Established. I think that's an understatement at that point. I think he was in a group called the Beatles, and I think we were all
a small group.
Yeah, a small group out of Liverpool.
So when you're 20 years old and now you're working for one of the most famous musicians of his time, what was it like for you? I mean, that had to have been like an amazing opportunity and a moment for you. What was kind of going through your mind and to land that?
I have no ideas except I thank the angels for putting me in a place where the opportunities happen. All I cared about was being in the music business, being as close as I could for music, because whether it be the Beatles, whether it be the Isley Brothers, whether it be whoever, music was really saved my soul as I was growing up, because I grew up in Harlem and in Spanish Harlem mainly, and there wasn't that many Chinese families out there. And so I was somewhere low man on the totem pole. I was always teased. So my mother was great. She gave me a great education. There was a public school nearby or a Catholic school. I balk at the fact that I went to Catholic school. I will say I had a great education. The nuns really knew how to do it back in the day. I think I was upset that I had to wear a uniform every single day, that same uniform. And I look back on it now and I say, thank God, because I knew what I was going to wear the next day. Because, nowadays, look at all the kids nowadays. Oh, that's the same outfit. I can't wear the same thing that I saw, 2 days ago, so it's, but it gave me some understanding. Music was that close to me. American Bandstand, I got a chance to tell Dick Clark how much I appreciated the American Bandstand, and I met a number of people, to me, my idols, when growing up. So it was really good.
Yeah, how fantastic to have a front seat to all this rock and roll history. I mean, some of my favorite artists at the time, you had the experience of interacting and having friendships with these folks. And I give my left arm for that.
Let me tell you, and for me, the understanding of why that song was written, who wrote it, I was very into. So music publishing was just the right place for me to be in the organization at the time when I got my first job. I've heard of Cameo Parkway. I knew all the artists that were on. Remember Dee Dee Sharp, Fabian, Bobby Rydell, all those on my mind. Oh my God, this is like Dick Clark revisited right here. And of course, Alan Klein also had the CAG's music catalog, which was Sam Cooke. Wow. And then he also had the Rolling Stones catalog. And then at the end, he had all the Apple Publishing and the 3 individual directors of that, So I couldn't have had a better training ground for that type of thing for me. And that really gave me the opportunity. And then later on, as being with John, I really got a chance to also meet a lot of the songwriters, the Carole King, Barry Mann, Cynthia Wilde, Jeff Barry, and then of course there's Phil Spector, but that's beside the point. Everybody, I mean, there are all these different people in my life that were really a big part of my life.
You obviously had your act together at a young age to be put in that position, and and you're obviously well thought of. I thought it was interesting as I was kind of diving into your story that even though you became intimate with John and had this beautiful relationship, that he originally, as you were growing up and a Beatles fan, he wasn't necessarily your favorite Beatle. Is that correct?
Now, who would have thought this 13-year-old girl who loved the Beatles like everybody else across America had a favorite? Now, who would have thought how many years later, 10 years later, that I would be asked, who is your favorite Beatle? But being asked by another Beatle and not thinking correctly, I just went, automatically I went, who's my favorite Beatle? Of course, I went to my 13-year-old self and I went, Ringo.
Wow.
And as I said those words, I turned around and I went, oh my God, we're talking when I was 13, right? We're not talking like now. I mean, so it was quite a little, oh God, I was just really just nervous. And I thought to myself, and he says, and all I heard was, I said, you're talking 13, right? I kept saying that. And finally he dropped it. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe he forgot it. Because I said, you were my favorite singer. Out of the 4, he was the favorite singer of all the songs. But, Ringo had those blue eyes. And I thought that was, he's my favorite. Well, lo and behold, who would have thought that night when we were at a party that we were seeing Ringo, that he would do the thing that I was hoping he would never do, which was turned around and he goes, hey, you were her favorite. I just wanted to, if there was a hole, I just wanted to jump into it.
Yeah.
But Ringo being Ringo, knew how to handle that one with John.
He had he did a different sense of humor, I think, so I could definitely see that.
Yeah. So I was, a little embarrassed. And I'm thinking, oh my God, where am I going? Please, can we not drop this thing? So yeah.
That's funny. That's a great story.
It's kind of funny, I know now, but at the time it wasn't funny.
Yeah. Like you said, you want to crawl in a hole. That would be embarrassing, but yeah.
Thank God, Ringo knew how to handle it. He was, he knows his pal. He knew what he was like. So that was good.
This exhibition that you have here in Denver on the 22nd, what will people experience and see when they come to this exhibition of your photographs? What are they going to experience, and what does this all entail?
When I started to embark on this venture with my friend Scott Siegelbaum, he had been after me for years to do this, and I wasn't ready. And now this is the timing. And when people see the photos, they see another side of John. The John that you get to see in these photos are really through my eyes, the way I saw him. And a lot of the people who have seen it so far in the few cities that we've traveled to, they've never seen that side of John, because everything is always posed for some photo shoot or something. And really, for me, it's more, this was home life for us. This is how we looked, how John acted. Just your normal everyday guy. That's just John.
What was he like when you were with him? He seems like he would have a great sense of humor, and I've seen documentaries and that sort of thing, and he seems like he was very self-assured and comfortable in his own skin. Like he wasn't afraid to be goofy or anything like that. Is that true?
Oh, goofy? Nah, he wasn't afraid to be that. Unsure of himself sometimes? Absolutely. There's still, no matter, outside of some people, but most people still have that, I don't know, am I good enough to do this? And that's really, that there's that part of it. And we ended up bringing kittens home because he was a big cat lover, Major and Minor, as he named them, for the keys of the piano. So brought them home, and he was so upset because the kittens didn't play with him at that very moment. He goes, and I'm looking at him pouting, and I said, "What's wrong?" He goes, "They don't want to play with me." I said, "We just brought them home." Like give them a little bit to acclimate themselves here. But, he was just unsure. He would play me songs that he had just written. He goes, "What do you think? Does this sound good? Or is this, how does this sound?" So I would sit in the studio when we would go into the studio and record. I love just listening to him record with the band, overdubs. He would just trust my instinct on certain things. I just then leave the room when they start mixing. Too many ears, and it's the same thing that you hear. So I walk out, and then I come back and sort of do a fresh listen.
So he obviously really respected your opinion. That he was running.
And I appreciated that. I mean, he was so proud of my knowledge of music that he was surprised. We were 10 years apart. He's 33, I'm 23. And we would have the same likes on the song. And I would tell him certain things. And he goes, "How do you know that?" And I would always tell him, I said, "I had this song because these were American songs. We got it. I got it first. You got it secondary." So, I already knew. We were both very, I said to him one day, "Oh, Angel Baby, I love that song." And he looked at me, he goes, "That's my favorite." And I really didn't think he knew the song, but he did. So, and it's quite interesting.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
23 years old. I was thinking about this today as I was getting ready to come to the studio. My daughter's 23. And I was thinking to myself, thinking in context of my daughter, like she has her act together, but she's still like, she's not a fully formed person yet. She's still, she's still on this trajectory, right? And so I was trying to wrap my head around being 23 and having John Lennon as your boyfriend. And he was your first boyfriend?
He was my first live-in. I mean, I dated, but I didn't really have boyfriends, as it were. But he was my first live-in.
Wow.
And
I know.
Your first love of your life?
Yeah. And it's very difficult to have somebody else, into your life. And it's taken me a while, and it's still difficult because he was the most important one that came into my life at that time. And it takes you down that road because that's where you go with it, that's how you see him. And we never, and it's terrible because we never had the closure to do that. I'm just happy that I was able to give Cynthia Lennon some closure on her relationship with John back in the day.
Yeah, you were very pivotal in reuniting him with his son, Julian. Is that correct?
Yeah. And you know what? I know everybody thinks that I was young. Yes, I was 23, but I think there was an older 23 back then because that's what my mother, you had to do it this way. And it's not like the way we are now where we spoil our kids. I have a 32 and a 34 myself. And I don't think they could have gone through the things I had gone through. So it's a little different world now.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say, kind of reiterating the whole Julian Lennon thing. I mean, that was one of the touching stories that I read is how, you kind of patched up a number of his relationships while you were together with him. Harry Nielsen was another one that, can you talk about that? How did that all come about? What made you different in a way? Well, obviously you must respect family and friends. And can you talk about that?
Well, when it comes to family, I didn't have a close family except for my mother. And, my sister was born in China. Everybody else was born. I was the first one to be born in America on either side of my family. So I felt like an outcast because when they introduce you, they always say, oh, yeah, this is the one that was born there. So that's how you get recognized. It's not by name. It's not by anything. It's like, oh, yeah, she's the one that was born there. So that's my uncles, my aunts, that's how it, and they consider people born outside of the homeland not very smart. So it's that mindset from back in the old days. But I think when you see certain things, it's just natural that you have a family. When you see, I think, a struggle to see what father and son, or you're just trying to put together whatever it may be. If it doesn't, I'm not saying it always works, but there is something that you have to try. So I saw that happening. I saw the whole thing that was going down there. And then I also saw what it was like when he hadn't seen his other friends, his quote, brothers. And it was nice to see him back with his pals that he hadn't seen in a long time. And this happened, a couple of the people, it happened in LA, and the other couple happened to be in New York. So it didn't matter. It just, family's family, friends are friends, and you just have to make it work no matter where you are.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
So how many photographs are part of this exhibition? How many photographs will be on display?
I think there'll be about, because I just added a couple new ones in there. So you'll see a couple new ones. There'll be at least about 31, 32.
Okay.
Don't want to overwhelm as time goes on.
And is all the work framed, or can you buy just the print itself?
You're buying, what it is that we have it framed so you could see it. Everybody has a different taste nowadays, So what we do is we sell it to you unframed, and I sign the limited prints right there while you buy it. And it's a special discount if you, at the gallery. The cost is a little It's a little different than online later on. So you come down, you get to meet, greet, and it's a meet and greet, and I tell stories.
Will you be there all 3 days at the gallery, or just the
I will
opening
be
reception?
there all 3 days. I got my what was it? My lozenges ready when my voice starts to go. I have a lot of water and Coca-Cola, my choice of drink, and I'm ready. I have spent many hours, just talking to people and taking photographs.
So do you do this one-on-one with people when you're in the gallery and talking about these different photographs, or will there be like a presentation, artist talk?
No, I don't do a presentation. It's a one-on-one, but the one-on-one turns into 1-on-20 right in front of you all of a sudden. And people start asking questions and I signed. And there is also a special, we have a poster that we also sell that's from the movie and that I sign as well. I don't, and I like to emphasize that I don't want anybody to bring any of their articles that they have, like if they have my book or records, because they made a deal with the gallery that I don't do anything that's not purchased at the gallery. So please don't bring anything, for me to sign that's not been purchased there.
Gotcha. So we're talking strictly the photographs that are being presented at the gallery.
Yeah. Or the poster that you want to buy. I will then, I will sign it.
Fantastic. And talk about these couple photographs that are new to the exhibition that you've included. What do they represent?
I think it represents a time for John when he felt really, it was like serenity. It was like he was just at that peaceful moment, because it's him in the water and coming out of the water. So, on one of the titles, in the description, water was his friend. He just loved it. And we had a neighbor who had a boat. And one day he came up and he said, "Hey, listen, I have a boat. Do you guys want to come and hang out? I'm going to take it out on the Long Island Sound." I didn't even 2 seconds. And he was like, "Oh yeah, we're coming." And I had no idea, I'm not a great swimmer, believe me. And I can't even swim really, but John was in that water. So I did the best thing that I could do, is to take that camera and start taking pictures. And when Julian would come, he had kids the same age, and they're all in the water playing. And I'm like, "Oh, no, I don't think I like the idea that I couldn't swim." And John says, no, I'm going to teach you how to swim. And I don't think so. And I started to panic, realizing I couldn't touch the ground underneath my feet. So, and I'm thinking, headline wouldn't look so good, girlfriend drowns John Lennon, So I thought, let me get back on that boat. And I managed to get back on the boat. And I sat down and I looked around and I looked at such happiness for him, and how peaceful he looked, that I just took photos of him and the kids.
And so the photo that you're talking about, is that Dream Away?
Yeah.
This is a lovely photo. And again, you can see just how relaxed he is, and how in that zone, in this lovely situation, how much he's enjoying himself.
He loves that photo. I mean, it was just the moment of just peacefulness for him. He didn't want, there was no care for him at that moment. So you could see.
I think it's interesting, because of your experience, your thought of you getting out of the water because you didn't want to be a headline.
I know.
The PR part of you was going, this would be really bad if I drowned in this body of water with John Lennon. Like, that wouldn't bode well. That wouldn't play well.
No, that wouldn't play well at all. And then the other picture at the bottom, with the towel wrapped around him.
I love this picture. I was going to bring this up because this is one of my favorites of yours. Here comes the sun.
Yeah. And you could see when you really look at it, you can see the droplets all over as he's gathering he comes out of the water and he has the sun all around him. He's just trying to get some color and feel good. You could see that, and you could see the difference. So these are like I said, it's my home shots.
You have a great eye too. I mean,
thank you.
I love the composition on many of these photographs. So, kudos for you for being a really good photographer as well.
And I didn't think, John used to see me carrying my camera. Everybody saw me carrying my camera back in those days where the camera weighed a ton. But I love taking photographs. I started doing this about when I was 16. And I just thought, what a great, thing to see your nature, friends, just taking pictures. So I was taking some of these photos are just one shot. I don't even know if it was good or not until it got developed. And I did not develop my own film, so I had to wait. So I did not want to waste the film. So if I only took 10 shots, I waited till I hit the end of the roll.
That was the magic of that time. Like you never knew if you quite got it or not. And when you got those photographs back from the photo processing place and you'd see something that turned out really great, it would be so exciting, right?
Right. Well, there's the one that I call the toy, which is him by this trike.
Oh, yeah. That's a great photograph as well.
He kept looking at this trike over and over. He loved it. And he kept staring at it. And finally I said, why don't you just stand there? Because he kept going back to that bike. I don't know who it belonged to. We were out in the desert. And he just kept looking at it. And I finally said, just stand there. I took one shot. That was it. There was no before or after. I didn't take any to test it out. I just did one shot. I didn't even know if his head was in the picture or anything. So there it was.
I love that.
Whoever's bike it is, well, guess who liked it?
So I have to say, this is my favorite photo of yours, and I can't bring it up, but Todd can. It's the photograph of you. And it's called California Grass, Palm Springs, 1974.
I am so surprised.
Yeah, that's a beautiful photograph.
You are so beautiful now and then. I mean, and the look on your face, the pure joy, happiness, it makes me feel good inside when I see it.
Oh, thank you. I mean, it's like, I didn't even think about this. I just handed the camera to someone to finally take, because we can't take selfies back then. That was a little difficult, But it was just at that moment, and that I wanted to capture John and myself. And we were just taking a break out in the Palm Springs. We were driving out for the weekend just to relax, get out of the car, as it were, because it was just so tight in there, and it was good. I'm just glad to get out. At one point, I'll probably bring up maybe photos that John and I took of each other, just for fun. He would just take photos of me, take my camera, and then I'd take it back. We'd be just taking photos of each other.
Tenant wants to acknowledge our media sponsor, New Magazine. That's NUE. You can follow both the national and the Denver edition of New Magazine on Instagram. The national edition can be found at new_magazine and the Denver edition at new_Denver_magazine. And I want to share with you something very exciting. Check out the newly launched New Denver Gallery Guide. Look for the signage that says New Denver Gallery Guide that has a QR code. Scan it with your phone, and you have instant access to a comprehensive digital guide to Denver's finest galleries and exhibitions. Find this QR code in your favorite gallery, hotel, or coffee shop as you visit and explore Denver. Thanks for listening.
I'm May Pang, and you're listening to the Tenant Podcast.
This exhibition is a mix of both color and black and white photographs, correct?
Right. There's a Polaroid series, meaning some of the prints that we made, we enlarged it from a Polaroid, because Polaroids I don't have a negative, or it's whatever it is. So we had to scan it and work from there. It's worked from my black and whites, my Tri-X, which I love. And also, and also the slides, the color ones. I did a lot from the slides, the Kodachrome and all that.
That is my favorite all-time film is Tri-X.
Everybody I talk to who loves to take photos love Tri-X, and it's like everybody does. There's such depth. There's such the black and white. People don't know what it meant to have Tri-X film. You push it and you try to get that black and white in there.
It has a very, very specific look to it because of the grain structure, and it's just beautiful. It's almost like it has almost like a glow to it, the way it captured things. So true.
I miss the Tri-X. I used to throw that in and say, okay, I'll take 400. Every once in a while, I'll go to 800. It's like, okay, let's see where we are. I still have my cameras. That not that one that I took from back then, because unfortunately I loaned it to another photographer, my original camera, and his loft got broken into, and all his cameras along with mine just went. So I was not happy. But the camera that I used on my 35 was a Nikon with my favorite lens of theirs, which was the portrait lens, which is the 105 portrait lens. So that's all you see on all these photos.
Oh, very interesting. And when we're talking Polaroid, we're talking the old SX70 Polaroid.
Yeah, well, John loved the instant, the moment you get it. He would love this time frame now, because everything is now. He would have been with the kids. I want it now. When he found out that the SX70 was a camera that was being released down in Florida, test marketed, someone who was going down to Florida, he says, buy me a camera quickly. So he had one before it was actually released nationally.
So what is the other new photograph that you're incorporating into this exhibition?
The Dream, and the one with the towel around him. And then there's I think the Ringo and John.
Okay.
Black and white.
That's a great photo as well.
So it was at Capitol Records. They were announcing Tony King, who worked in London at the Apple office in London, happened to be also in LA at the time we arrived, John and I. And he said, "Oh, I love California." And I will say he was responsible also for introducing Elton to John and I. And he loved the Californian. John kept saying to him, "Fits you well. And maybe you should move here and represent us in America." So that was what happened. We moved him from London to LA, and he was in an office in the California Capitol Records building. So it was kind of funny because he said, we should make an announcement. You got it. And, Ringo and John are there. And so John says, yeah, we should take a photograph. He goes, we don't have a photographer. He goes, what do you mean? He goes, May will take the photo. I wasn't considered the photographer because, see, I didn't do that for a living, as everybody, but I got access to a few things.
Heck yeah. And one of the photographs that you had access to was this very historical photograph of John signing the contract or the documents to dissolve the Beatles. Talk about that and what made you decide that you were going to capture that moment.
Well, it was actually John's idea. I had the camera and I was looking at it. He goes, come on, be my Linda. Come on, do this. Because Linda, John was supposed to sign the breakup contract a few days earlier. And he wasn't quite happy. There was still some moments in there, some of the things that he wasn't quite happy with, namely one meaning taxes that he might be the one responsible for. So they had to work something out. But they wanted it done before the year was out, obviously by the end of 74. And we were only a few days away. So we happened to be in Disney World. And we have it where John talked to the lawyers a day before, whatever, and everything. And two lawyers came down. One was John's personal lawyer, and the other one was a lawyer that represented the Beatles. and brought all the contracts. It's a lot. There's a lot of stack that he had to sign. And so I didn't know if I had the shot or anything because I'm sitting in a dark room. I don't have a flash. And I just, took a few shots. And I don't think that if it wasn't for the technology now that I would have been able to see all this. Because I just sort of left it, kept the negatives and just, put it away. I didn't even know what this was until now.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So what's great about this, which is different than anything else, you can have a signed contract, but a lot of people don't realize I'm actually capturing John signing mid-signature, as he's signing. And some people can't tell that when they look at it, they go, well, I only see 3 signature. And I said, there's 4. John was the last one to sign.
I was trying to make out the different signatures as I was looking at that photograph.
Can you see all 4?
Yeah, I can. I was able to see all 4. So I thought it was interesting,
Yeah, you have to really look at it. At first, you go, oh, there's only 3 signatures. And the one that you don't see so well is Ringo. He goes the other way. So it just melts into the signature above.
Yeah, and to George Harrison's signature, right?
Yeah. So Paul starts it, and then there's George, and then Ringo, and then John. And you can see he was just starting to write his last name. You're right. It's historic because I'm the only one that has the one that all 4 signature.
Yeah. Did you know during this whole time as you were, obviously you just loved photography and you liked taking pictures of your friends, family, what have you. Did you have any idea the significance of what you were documenting at the time? Or was it even a thought?
Not even a thought. It was just, all right, I'll just take a photo to just capture that moment. It's the moment that I was just doing it for, not anything like, oh, this is historic. I just wanted to say, okay, fine. I took a couple and I walked away. It wasn't like I kept shooting. And so that's why I said it's like me doing that one shot of John with the motorcycle and the trike. And I said, I only did one shot. I didn't think twice about it. And it's because, you're just doing it for the moment.
Right.
And it wasn't for, oh yeah, it's going to be historic for years later. Didn't think of it like that.
I think that's what makes this so special is that, it's so intimate because there was no parameters or no special outlet that it was going to. It's just you being you, capturing what you experience, and it really shines through. That's what makes these photographs so special.
Yeah, it's home life for us, and that was it. And it was interesting because John turned around and he said, let me see some of your photos when I started taking pictures. And he goes, oh, they're not bad. And he would go, oh, I look good in this one. Or, he was very self-conscious about himself. He thought when I said, what do you mean? I said, you look great anytime. He goes, no. He goes, he didn't like he called the fat period, which was health. He thought he looked heavy and fat. So he hated that. So when he started to see some of the photos I had, he says, okay, he'd rather have me do the photos, even when it came down to doing the walls and bridges, which we, of course, ended up getting another photographer to do it because I didn't have a 2 1/4 camera, which if people don't understand, the art director needed a square photo and I was doing 35, which is not the same dimensions. But I started to do all of that. And he goes, because he had an idea for something. And that's why you see some of the ones where he sticks out his tongue, which is similar to the ones that the other photographer took, because I had already started and John would have rather had me. But when the art director said, well, no, we need a different type of camera, and I didn't have it, he said, all right, we'll get the other person to do it. But he wanted me to take all his photos. He just liked the way I gave him his look for some reason. I guess I look at it through with love. So
right. Yeah. I think that's the difference, right? Because you had a relationship with him, you saw him differently than just Joe Blow showing up, this pro photographer with all his equipment or whatever. And, I think speaking from experience as a photographer, you kind of get this idea in your head of what needs to be done or whatever. You came from it from a very pure place of love, right?
Yeah. And that's, in fact, the day of the shoot, which was done on our rooftop where we live, our tar beach, as I would call it. I mean, this was the other side of our roof. We had a balcony, but this was taken on the other side. And to get to it, you walk through, you climb through our kitchen window to get out there. And you could see some of the photos. If you go back, Todd, that there's a couple that were taken during that session, from the Walls and Bridges session that I was doing from behind the scene, as opposed to, he was shooting and I was doing it in off time, when he's looking. I think it's the black and, you see it in color, or it's black and white. I forgot. There were a couple that were originally in color, but Scott liked it in black and white.
Oh, gotcha. One of my other favorites that you took of John is with two dogs, a walk in the wilderness.
Yeah, that's everyone's favorite. So
is it really?
Well, you know what? You have to know this is John's favorite. We were spending the weekend up in Ellenville, which is, just an area near Woodstock. And we were out there, and John just wanted to get away before we started our next project. And he said, I want to get away. I'd love to go someplace. And a friend of mine said, hey, listen, I got a cabin up in Ellenville. Would you like to spend the weekend? You can have it. We said, great. He goes, I'll meet you up there. Gave us the direction. I drove up there. And we get out. My friend had two dogs. And he said, let's walk up I'll show you where you get the path where you can walk. So as we're walking, it was the fall, and you could see the leaves are beginning to turn. New York has some beautiful foliage in fall. So as we're walking, I thought, oh, this is a great shot. I like taking a look. And I just dropped back, and John kept walking, and he didn't notice I had dropped back. And I just yelled out to him, and he turned, and that's the shot I took.
Man, what a great story. And it's a great photograph. Like I got chills as you were telling me this, as I'm looking at this photograph.
And of course, when John saw it later, he said, oh, I love this photograph. And the two dogs, which are in there, Shazam and Delilah, my friend's dogs, they're like two wolves. They're black German shepherds, But it's John's favorite that he actually, because of his sweater, it's his Irish sweater, this Aran sweater of his, he loved it. So he loved it so much that even after we had split from one another, he came back to me and he said, can I use this photo? I said, of course you can. He goes, I want to use it for, back in the day, we still had singles, 45s. And he goes, I want to use it for the release of Imagine. Now that had been a few years early. This is in 1975, and it was only coming out then, So I said, of course you can use it. So this cover sleeve is this photo. What's funny is that he actually released it on my birthday in 1975.
Wow. What a great story.
Yeah. I didn't know it. I had no idea. I had no idea he was going to do that. So he just said, can I just use it? And that was it. And it's great. And I couldn't believe it. I went, oh my God, he released this on my birthday.
Very cool.
Yeah. Before I forget, there's a picture of Julian. And Julian, the original photo of Julian is on there. But he used him, which is the picture of just him alone. And it's the cover of his album, Jude, his latest album.
Oh, okay.
I did read that, and I did see that. It's a great photograph. I had to go check it out because I had read that and then heard him talking about it, I believe. And yeah, beautiful
So
photograph.
I've actually had a couple of pictures on one for covers, So
Yeah, you've done cover art.
I've done covers now.
And that's a great picture of Julian too. It's just such a sweet young boy there in that photo.
Yeah, because he wrote to me and he said, he goes, May, do you have any photos of me, like at that age? And I said, well, and I keep forgetting, when I would develop by that point, he never saw half of the photos of himself,
Yeah.
So I would keep it and say, oh, that's a good one of Julian. Throw it into my shoebox, with everything else. And so I dragged it out and I sent it over, see what he thought. So that's what happened.
How many places has this exhibition been presented?
Let's see. On the East Coast, I did 3 city wineries. I did Boston, that started it off, New York, and Philly. I then went to New Hope. That was the first real art gallery that, because the other one was just like to time it with the release of the city winery was the timing of the release of the movie for a one-day event back in April with my movie. But my first real art gallery was the Arte Gallery in New Hope, Pennsylvania. And then we started out in Midwest, area. So I've done maybe 3, 6, maybe 9 different cities, 10 cities maybe so far in America. And Scott, when you ask him, how long is this going to run? He goes, as long as until I tell her, stop, that's it. We try to do 3 cities, depending on timing. We allow for other events like my daughter getting married or anything else. We allow timing. So we try to do 3 cities in 12 days. So what we do is we come into one, we fly into one, we drive in between, and then we leave from the city where we're going to be heading off to next. So we just keep driving. So the first place we're going to hit is Kansas City when I come back. And then we drive down to Denver.
Wow. That's a lot of work.
It is, because then we go home and then we take a rest. Obviously we have so many other personal things that we have to do. And it's enough time in between to just rest and get back on the road. But it's still strenuous because we got to take care of all the different things. If there's a certain amount of prints, if they get sold, we got to make sure they get resupplied out there for us, and any of the sleeves. I mean, the posters, when people buy the posters, they get a sleeve so that it isn't flopping in the wind for people. And, and pens. And it's a lot of work because we go to these places and you're like, okay, what time do we get? And I'm there at the gallery and all these places. Most of the time, if the 3 days, it's normally from the mid-afternoon on a Friday to nighttime, like to 8:00 at night. So there's 4 or 5 hours there. This last one that I was in Omaha, there were 2 days that were like 8 hours, starting at 10 to 6. And I'm there and I barely get a bathroom break. I have to go, I'll be back, hold on. So I go and come back. So it is strenuous because you get in and then you drive into the next city. It's the rock and roll life, I see.
Exactly. I was just thinking that you're on tour, and
I'm on tour.
And
I
then
thought
you have
this
to,
time.
and then you have to ask what city am I in?
Yeah, I have asked that. I even wake up now and I don't know what day I'm on. And I'm home and I'm going. The other day I woke up and I went, oh, wait a minute. Oh, I'm home. I looked around and went, oh, this is my bed. So it is still, but it's great. And the question that everybody asks all the time is, how did you land yourself here? And I will tell you that when I told Scott, my partner in this, I said, wherever we're going, whatever cities you're booking on galleries, I said, I want to go to the Midwest. I want to go to cities I've never been to. Most of the times they're either the East or the West. I know nothing about my middle America. And I would love to go out there. I would love to see what's in those cities, and what make people tick out there, and see Iowa, the cornfields of Iowa, or, and the mountains of, in Denver, which I've been to. I've mentioned, when John and I came out to Denver, we went up to, we drove up to Boulder, we went up to Netherland, to Caribou Ranch. And that's where we, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. And it was great fun up there. And I never knew what it meant when they said air is thin. Boy, I had no idea that when I would go into Caribou, they had oxygen tanks. And I didn't understand that. Well, I found that out. When John would sing and, and he'd do long notes or whatever, he would just take in the oxygen. And I was like, wow. So I realized what it was like up there. And it was great. I remember Elton coming out. We were at the mess hall where we were all having breakfast. And he was dressed to go out for his run. He was going out for a run. And all of a sudden I saw him back like 5 minutes later. And I said, I thought you were going out for a run. He goes, yeah, not until I saw a bear in the distance, and he turned around and came back out.
Oh, these prints that you're presenting, these are limited edition. Is that correct?
Yeah, they're the canvas ones which is the special one of the contract. That's only 99 that I will have, and one of them is diamond dusted. All the rest are 199 of each print, and that'll be it. And that's all I'm selling. And then we'll have to figure out a configuration of something else and how it would look on another type of with a print, just different.
I assume because of the subject matter and you being able to connect with all these people that love John Lennon, that it's been really well received. Yeah.
Oh, I think people were so surprised. The thing that they said the most is they've never seen him so relaxed. And so it's like what I said before, it's home life, not a posed photograph that you're selling. So you're seeing John the way I saw him.
Right.
Before we let off today, I want to talk a little bit about this documentary. You touched on it before, but it's only been screened one time. Is that correct?
Well, it actually came out last year during Tribeca, for the Tribeca Film Festival. And it was the most requested movie to be seen at that time. And then, of course, it was a weird time also for the industry in entertainment, because it was coming out of COVID and then going into a lot of the firing of, I'm reading about every day was like companies letting go of like 500,000 people, 7,000 people, like Netflix started it. And then you start reading, and it's still going on. And now we have the writers' strike, so all these things were happening all at the same time. This year, we took it off and we came back. We did a one-day event because people were clamoring for it. We did a one-day event in April. And what happened was that in the end, we just said, okay, we did that, but people still wanted it. So in the end, the producers had found Briarcliff, who acquired the movie, and it will now be going out streaming on October 13th. People, because fans have been asking me all over the place, October 13th. And also it will be streaming on demand, and you can also buy Blu-ray and DVD as well. They could pre-order it now through Amazon, I guess even Walmart or any of those places. So they can also pre-order it. So I know friends of mine that already pre-ordered, and they said they got their confirmation, and, they ship out October 13th, and he's getting his on by October 17th. So people can view it at home as well.
Nice.
So, but if you can't wait, then go and stream it,
Right.
And which service will be streaming it?
It's on demand.
On
So,
demands. Okay.
yeah, so you can go to whatever service you're on. I guess most of it, like if you're on Xfinity, you can go on that. Whatever it is, it's all on demand. So Amazon, any one of them.
Okay.
Great.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So it's Comcast. I think it's all of that. It's all on demand.
And I know you've written a couple books about your time with John. What made you decide that you wanted to do a documentary of your story?
Well, the documentary and the book are different because I gave the producers a little bit more of my life rights. So they had a little more than just the book. The book has been out of print. Both books have been out of print for a while. What was it? The Loving John, which of course later I put into a smaller version paperback, and I retitled it John Lennon, The Lost Weekend. It's been out of print since 92. The Instamatic Karma, which is the book of photographs back then, also has been out of print since it's been mid 2000, came out in 2008, so somewhere about 2009. So it's been out of print since then.
So with this documentary being released, everybody can see it now in October. Do you have in mind to republish, do another printing of these books at all? Do you think there'll be an interest and you would consider doing that?
I think people have been wanting it, but I don't think so. I think I would rather do something different because I think when people, I realize people have, some people want to read it. Some people miss it as you read. They don't always get the info. They go, how did I miss that in the book? And I think the documentary really supplies that and the visual for most people because we're in that era of, I want to see it on the screen as opposed to reading it. But I would do something different with a book. I would do, I was thinking of doing something like things you didn't know that actually happened, that type of thing that didn't make it into either the book or the film,
Oh, I like that idea.
Yeah. Because I have, there's so many little things that went on.
Sure.
Stories, anecdotes, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Just sort of like that's happened in my life that not many people knew.
Yeah.
Not necessarily that it had to be with John, but it's like all this, nobody, when you're talking about things that happened at the house or, I'll take some of the stories that did come out that a lot of people didn't even realize it was in the book. Or part of the problem with the first book, I put so much in that the editors kept taking it out. And so I don't know what's in and what's out. So I know because I would say it's in the book and they go, no, it wasn't. I said, it wasn't. So I'll go back reading and I go, oh, they took it out. So, so that's one of those things. So I'm deciding whether I want to take all these little stories and just go and just start writing little vignettes in a way, so you can say, hey, this is what happened here. This is what happened there. We met this person on the street. It's interesting, not having to do a whole lot, but just little vignettes.
Were you very hands-on with this documentary? Were you part of the whole process?
This is what I did. I narrate the movie. I did not want to be a real hands-on. They knew my story. Stuart Samuels is the archivist, and he knows a lot that went on back then because he's also was involved with the Ron Howard movie. And so he was helping with that. And then Richard is more the cinematographer. So that's what he came to the table. He was brilliant. And Eve Branstein was how I started because we're good friends. She wanted to option the book many years ago, and I said no. So we remained friends. And here we are 25 years later. And I said to her, she was in New York, and we're having dinner, and I said, what's going on with you? And she was telling me she was doing women's plays and this and that, because she was also a casting director many years ago. And so she was telling me, she was giving me, all of a sudden she just said, oh yeah, and I'm working on documentaries. And without a blink of an eye, I turned around and I said, that's what I want to do. And she looked at me I said, I want to do a documentary. And she goes, you know what that means? I said, yeah, I'm ready. I said, I'm ready. And so she was the one that brought it to the table to everybody else. Nice. So the other three, so it's unusual. We got three producer directors here. And they were the ones that brought it to life. And I said, I'll give whatever help. If you have questions, we'll go over it. But I trust you to make this a great movie. And I really did not see the movie, except maybe a snippet here and there. Because I did not want to be the one that, you turn around and goes, I don't like the way my hair looks. Or, we all have a tendency, I don't like, this sounds terrible. And it's nitpicking, because then you're seeing it only the way, nobody else could understand it. It would not be the cohesive way that somebody else could understand it. So I said, I'm going to not do anything. You guys do it. And I saw it only maybe hours before I was supposed to do the narration.
Wow.
The full thing. Yeah.
And how did you feel about that first time?
It was, at first I thought, is this really me? Is this about, I couldn't grasp it at first. And it was like the second time, it was like when I saw it again, and I got it. And when I was doing the narration, I got it. It was just hard at first. You look at it and go, that was one of the reasons why I just didn't want to always be, when you're always involved, it's so one-sided that people are saying, well, we have to put this in, and you're going, no, I don't want this, Right. And I had to give my trust to them. And that's what I did. And they did a magnificent job. And so, like I said, I didn't want to be the nitpicking, constantly putting my hands in there. Well, you see what happens when somebody has a hand in their movies and there's no objective, it's just to them. And you're going, we don't have enough of this, or we don't have enough of that. And I just thought, I trust them. I had to.
I think that's the best way to go. Yeah. Because you're allowing them to tell the story, and as long as they're being honest and truthful about it, that's the better way to do. Like you say, you kind of want to self-edit. Obviously, you're very proud of the film. Was it well received at Tribeca as well?
Oh my God. They couldn't it was so well received that they kept asking us. In fact, the first night that it finally presented itself, June 10th, I think it was. And it was the first night, opening night for us. And it was only virtual. We actually broke the internet for them on their night. So they called up the producers, and they called up Richard. They said, can we expand the bandwidth? Because everybody's having problems. They can't get on the movie. They can't get on to see it. He said, of course. And so they extended it. They kept coming back to us. It was the most seen, most requested movie.
Awesome.
Wow.
That's fantastic. We had people wrote about it. I didn't do any interviews for it. And we had like 2.3 billion impressions. All these new terms that I'm not used to. Yeah. So we had 2.3 billion impressions.
Wow. That's a crazy amount of. Yeah.
So I guess people liked it.
Good.
Yeah. That's an understatement, right?
Yeah.
So I'm waiting for you guys to see it.
Yeah, I'm really interested, and I can't wait to see it. So I definitely will be checking that out on October 13th. May, thank you so much for your time. I could talk to you all day, but I want to be cognizant of the time that you've given us. And I really appreciate you, like I said, carving out time in your day to spend it with us. Can't wait to see this exhibition and meet you in person. Are you coming down to I definitely will be there.
Okay.
Yes.
Good.
So I'll get to spend a little bit more time with you.
Yes.
And maybe we can have you on again sometime, and we'll talk a little bit more.
Yes.
Yeah, we would love that. And once again, thank you so much for your time. I thoroughly enjoyed the stories. It's an amazing story. I can't wait for the documentary. And I live in South Dakota, so I'm going to do my best to come down. that weekend and check it out. Just thank you so much for doing this.
My pleasure. Listen, my pleasure. I enjoyed the conversation, and I can't wait to, if you can make it, Wes, that's great. I understand if you can't, you're in South Dakota. Todd, I will be seeing you, and I really appreciate you giving me time also to talk about this.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Don't forget to follow May on her Instagram at @themaypang_official and check out her website, maypang.com. Her exhibition, The Lost Weekend, the photography of May Pang, opens Friday, September 22nd and runs through Sunday, September 24th at Bitfactory Gallery. The opening reception takes place on the 22nd from 4 to 8 p.m., but May will be there throughout the weekend telling her stories and meeting and greeting people that come through the gallery. Bitfactory is located at 851 Santa Fe Drive here in Denver, Colorado, 80204 in the heart of the Art District on Santa Fe. And last but not least, look for the upcoming digital release of the feature documentary, The Lost Weekend, a love story that happens on October 13th, where you can stream it on demand. Where else can you purchase that?
You can right now could pre-order it, like on Amazon Prime or any of those. They can just pre-order it now.
Nice.
Fantastic. We will definitely have that in this week's episode notes with all that other pertinent information. For the Tenant Podcast, I'm Todd Pearson.
And I'm Wes Brown.
Have a great week.